Hi, I'm Mark Tyrrell of Uncommon Knowledge, and welcome to 5 sensual ways to encourage your clients to enjoy healthy pleasures, and how this reduces negative thinking and protects against depression. Now, some people say that life shouldn't just be about personal gratification, and of course it shouldn't be. Just to be hedonistic, to do nothing but selfishly seek sensual pleasures is a dead end, a seemingly infinite, rich in promise road leading inexorably to a cul-de-sac of addiction, disillusionment, chaos, infantilization, fractured relationships and wasted potential. Some pleasure in life is vital for physical and mental health. It's often assumed, thanks to the malign influence of movie-land versions of what being in therapy is all about, that when people go for therapy to deal with their depression and anxiety, the focus will all be on the bad stuff or the deep stuff. Awful childhood traumas, terrible personal issues, and that sort of thing. But just as a million tiny pinpricks can bring down a mighty giant, hundreds of small little stresses without any major catastrophe can gradually have a cumulative effect that results in serious depression and dependency. So sometimes our clients' problems aren't caused by major issues, but by lots of tiny little frustrations. And the loss of lots of little everyday but healthy pleasures can be both the cause and the result of depression. So life isn't just about enjoyment, of course, because it's not just about any one thing. The slide into depression, brought about by a blend of one's personal psychology and lots of different stresses, is also accompanied more often than not by many losses. And these losses aren't necessarily great big dramatic movie-land therapy type losses. They might consist of hundreds of seemingly small and not very important in themselves losses of simple pleasures. Not seeing friends, not baking anymore. You used to, but you don't do that anymore. Not gardening anymore, not getting to play football, not listening to music, not going for walks, no longer having colleagues to talk to every day. These things. As such small sources of enjoyment diminish or disappear, it can steadily chip away at our reserves of resilience, almost without our noticing. When treating depression, we use a multi-pronged approach to help clients overcome a million minor stresses, as well as any major ones that might have been a contributing factor in the beginning of the depression and also the maintenance of the depression. But we also can start to encourage, at some point at least, small everyday pleasures back into the lives of our clients. Not the kind of pleasures that are grossly grabbed, forced and greedily consumed, the rock and roll type lifestyle, but the kind of pleasures you can savor as a reward for efforts and legitimate healthy behaviors. So here's 5 ways that I found really useful to help clients reacquaint themselves with everyday therapeutic or vital pleasures in life. So, number 1, we need to sell the concept of pleasure to some clients. Imagine a medical treatment for both mind and body that can diminish heart disease, relieve depression, boost immune function, promote sleep, have life feeling more meaningful, block pain, and whose only side effect is feeling good. And that sounds pretty wonderful, doesn't it? And when will this treatment be available, you might ask? But I'm not talking about some new blockbusting drug. I'm talking about the effects of pleasure itself. People who are prone to perfectionism or workaholism or other forms of pathological seriousness can have a hard time feeling it's okay to enjoy themselves and do something purely for the pleasure of doing it. Now, imagine talking about or selling the idea of simple pleasures to your client in this way. So number 2, sell subtle pleasures. People who are depressed or highly angry are almost by definition viewing life from extreme all or nothing standpoints. So it's either completely this or completely that. So I asked Lionel, one of my clients, what he'd enjoyed in the past, and he said, in absolute classic all or nothing terms, I've never been really happy. But I hadn't asked him about times he'd been really happy. And I reassured him that I wasn't looking for rare, ecstatic, sublime moments of sheer joy, but just stuff that he had quite liked to do before he started feeling depressed. And eventually he grudgingly, because he wasn't used to thinking in nuanced, non-all or nothing ways, he grudgingly agreed that he did used to enjoy, or quite enjoy, walking in the countryside with his wife, playing guitar, listening to music, having a laugh with his co-workers, and making love with his wife. So I could begin to reacquaint Lionel with those pleasures that before the depression he'd used to appreciate. And pleasures can be quite subtle, seeing a child laughing, taking time to smell the roses, literally. That pleasant evening stroll can all have us feeling and being a little bit healthier and happier. Not on a profound level, but it all helps. Pleasure can be subtle and still be wonderfully healthy. It doesn't have to be a strong impact that you feel, but you still may have to circumnavigate your client's tendency to see pleasure and misery only in binary terms, in all or nothing terms, to get them to buy the idea that it's important for them to begin to engage in pleasurable activities. So we can re-evoke healthy pleasures of the past. Number 3, have you ever sat reminiscing with a friend? If you were talking about good times, you felt those good times again just by talking about them. If you spoke of hysterically funny times from the past when you were at college together or whatever, those feelings of deep mirth could wrap you once again in their life-affirming velvet arms, and you can start laughing again with the person just discussing these old times. So you're re-evoking the pleasure by talking about it. And life can get awfully serious. Bills, pressures, illnesses, strained relationships, the limiting idea that certain things are important and serious and others are superficial and frivolous, that enjoyment is not what life is about, and all that kind of thing can chip away at us. And we can, lose our joie de vivre and become very serious people. And we can forget to enjoy along the way. So I had Lionel close his eyes and re-evoke walking in the country with his wife and laughing with his friends at work. And it took a while, but I suggested his body could recall those feelings even if his mind couldn't. And this gave him permission to stop trying to please me, to stop trying to remember, and just let his body remember. And eventually he visibly relaxed. And I talked about how endorphins start to circulate in the body the moment his subconscious mind knows he's about to laugh, seconds before he actually laughs. His unconscious mind is already producing that laugh before the laugh manifests. And the edges of his mouth twitched, like a fisherman's line finally hooking something, and a smile escaped from the depressed dungeon, and he laughed long and hard at some long-forgotten joke during the hypnotic trance. So I was reacquainting him with the actual experience of pleasure. And I suggested he'd have more opportunities to laugh in the coming days, weeks and months and years. Okay. Number 4, stress less for pleasure. Uncontrolled stress gradually squeezes the natural, simple pleasures out of life. A desperately stressful life can prompt some people into increasingly desperate attempts to secure some pleasurable experiences, kind of on tap. So when the fast lane city investor develops a coke habit, to use a cliche, or the harried single mother, to use another cliche, tries to snatch some end-of-the-day pleasure from the inside of a vodka bottle, then they're only trying to tip the balance and empty out all the stress in one go and have some kind of pleasure. But of course, the pleasure they experience can actually lead to much greater pain in the long term, or the medium term, or the near term, and more stress down the road, of course. So to help people enjoy subtler forms of pleasure, less likely to backfire on them, we might need to prepare and clear the ground first, so the seeds of pleasure can take root and begin to grow for the person. So this means helping them feel less stressed more of the time. When you feel relaxed to begin with, then you're much more open to deepening your appreciation of everyday pleasures. So you can give your clients the tools to manage their stress better and teach them ways to relax, how to use worry time usefully, how to compartmentalize worries, how to say no, or whatever technique you deem to be useful in their specific circumstance. All these ways to manage their stress. Number 5, we can actually prescribe pleasure. So once you've sold the benefits of the importance of having natural pleasures in life and the need for more healthy pleasures, then you can prescribe pleasure. So I asked Lionel, this client, to force himself to take his wife for a walk in the country at the weekend. And he told me he had work to do, but he'd try. Okay, so the upshot was that he enjoyed the pleasure both of being in nature and spending time with his wife. And he found he got more work done the following week. So he found that actually introducing a tiny bit of pleasure actually helped him work harder at other times. Over time, he began to enjoy spending time with his friends again, laughing, loving, and living healthier and more happily, partly because we hypnotically reacquainted him with the reality of these pleasures. And at the same time, we can look for ways to magnify and encourage the myriad small pleasures that lend us all resilience, spark, and energy. So my advice to you is have fun, help your clients have fun, but in ways which are healthy and sustainable. So I hope you found that useful. And if you did, please hit like and subscribe. And if you want to hear when my next video is published, hit the notification bell below. I'm Mark Tyrrell of Uncommon Knowledge. And if you'd like to subscribe to my email newsletter, you can find it over at unk.com/blog. That's unk.com/blog. And thanks for watching.